my name's Tori West and I'm the editor and founder of Bricks magazine, and this is the I Did That podcast powered by TikTok. And on this episode, we meet sustainability activist, content creator and founder of fashion brand Reclaimed TNA, Darwin Alford. Through her TikTok account, Darwin educates her audience about the fashion industry's most exploitative practices and advice on how we can adopt more sustainable styling habits, while her fashion brand creates custom looks using second-hand fabrics.
Sounds good.
Was that a good intro?
Yes, beautiful.
Amazing. I'd love to know a little bit more about Reclaimed TNA and why you set it up and the process and a little bit about the brand. If you could start there.
It was definitely a long haul. It was actually kind of a perfect storm through COVID, our favourite time. So I've been sewing my whole life, like my whole family are like seamstresses in some form. So sewing was kind of a natural thing for me. But it was just during lockdown, having the time to start a business, because it takes some time, as I'm sure you know. And also just learning more about sustainable fashion over that time. There's a lot of things happening with COVID and garment workers. And just slowly from there, kind of built it up. Made my first set out of a bedding sheet I had in the house because I couldn't go shopping for like fabrics as well. So it was kind of that nice two things came together. And then from there it was like, okay, let's make it a business.
As awful, I think, as the pandemic and COVID's been, I think that time in lockdown really did actually help some people really get into their creative path and actually offer them the time to be able to like discover what they love and want to do, which is really cool. So it's really good that you managed to have like something positive out of a really shit situation. Because we did it exactly the same. Like I was a cleaner. I was a part-time cleaner, but in the pandemic lost all of my work. Well, actually, I say part-time, I was a full-time cleaner. Lost all of my work. Had to go on universal credit. And then it was the first time in my life that I had time to just go, what if I tried to do this magazine full-time for the first time in my life? Did it, come out, and then got an office, and it's now my full-time job. Not paid, I'm a freelancer to still make money. But like that really allowed
that little
movement,
kickstart,
right?
yeah, exactly. And I was just not spending as much money. Like I realised how much like just going out for coffee, which I will still do and I love, but just not going out for coffees and like not seeing friends in that way, like as hard as that was, it meant I saved more money than I will probably ever save again. But that really helped with like financial backing for a business. So all came together.
So during that time, so you start using TikTok to share like your feelings about the harmful effects of fast fashion, and especially during the pandemic. And what was one of the first things that you learned about fashion and sustainability that forced you to personally change your habits?
Yeah, so I've always kind of lived sustainably, but without really knowing it. Like I've just been in one of those families, in touch with nature. We loved a charity shop. So those things were already kind of in place for me. But I think something so simple, but realising that every single piece of like clothing you have has basically been made by someone. It's so simple, but in my head, when you go into Primark and you see something for £1, you're like, surely a machine's made that, like that's why it's £1. But then I was like, oh no, someone has sat down and made this. And I'm like, especially from being someone who sews, I'm like, I know it would take me at least half hour to make that. So when you do these bigger things, seeing like full, beautiful tailored coats, but for £10, it was like, something's not adding up here. And it is that price being paid by garment workers. So once I started down that rabbit hole, then it was, didn't come back out.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely horrific. It's basically the whole concept of fast fashion is basically, there's no way it could ever be sustainable because it's literally built off exploiting low-income people. Yeah, so there's no way it could ever be sustainable. Yeah. Either in capitalism, but I could talk about that whole episode. Maybe 5. Yeah. You said before that also you didn't consider yourself as an entrepreneur until you found your business ethos, which I think is really interesting. How did you build confidence in seeing yourself as like a quote-unquote business person in the creative field? So I think that's quite hard to do. Yeah. So what advice can emerging entrepreneurs do to build their confidence as they enter the industry and start basically following your footsteps?
Me? Yeah, no, 100%. I think just like, first off, like saying like, I'm a business person, like I'm a businesswoman, because I think even that small thing of being like, I am this, like you can kind of wish it into existence. And slowly, as I said to someone like, oh, I'm a businesswoman, and they didn't question it, I was like, oh, maybe I can get away to be a businesswoman. And slowly, as I was putting the work in and things started to like, you really need to be grateful for every step. So like, oh, I've just like managed to work out how to price an item, or I've just worked out how to like apply for a bank. All those like small wins, like I'm like, okay, no, this is like those small bits are the having a business. It's not about the final thing and like making millions of pounds a year. It's about that day to day, like I'm waking up today, these are my 2 tasks, getting them done. That's being a business person.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because when you run a business and you literally start from scratch and maybe like you haven't grown up in an environment where business is like you have business around you, sometimes the language and terminology to identify as a business owner just feels so weird. But this year I've tried to do it being like, oh yeah, I run my own business, instead of being like, oh, I run this magazine, or I'm a writer,
Yeah, it's like,
or I'm like,
little
I
side
actually do run
thing.
a business. That's wild. It doesn't make me any money, but it's still a business.
Yeah, no,
So
well,
you're
we're
so
here,
right.
like exactly.
Yeah, we're
so
here.
you just need to like make it like whatever you're doing. If you say you're a businesswoman, then like, or businessman, person, like that's it. Like there is no set definition. It's not about a price or a job or a title. You say it, it's done.
You also, so you said at the beginning in the first question that you, in the pandemic, like couldn't source fabric and you like making your own stuff out of bed sheets and things, but you also brushed up on your sewing skills by making scrubs during the pandemic for the NHS workers with members of your local community. What did you learn early from this network of sewers about the power of having a community?
It was actually like this is when I used to live in Penarth, and it's one of those moments where I know we all say it, but you just don't know your neighbours and you don't know the people you live with anymore. And it's something that, you know, my grandparents definitely had that thing of like, you could go to your neighbour for anything in these things. But we literally all came together. I was impressed how many sewers there were around me, and people would be like, oh, you don't have a bobbin? I'll lend you this. Like people were dropping off fabric to people. We were all like working together and made the system. And once again, like there was almost a businesswoman out of that, because it was just like some little nan who'd never planned on doing this, but she's like, Facebook page, like let's go.
Yeah, it was all on the Facebook page.
It was all on the
came out in
Facebook
full
pages,
swing.
exactly.
And
And there was some drama on that like Facebook page sometimes. But yeah, honestly, like all working together. If you had a question, there was always someone there to answer it. And you're literally just getting to know people, even though it was the time that we were all locked inside. It was lovely.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And also working towards a greater purpose. It's not like something that was very individual. I think with a lot of activism and acts of activism sometimes can be considered as self-serving. But I think it's really good to highlight things that are community focused, that you're actually all working together actively for greater good, rather than it just being something that's self-serving
100%.
for you individually.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, like a lot of those ladies, like I wish I could name some of them, because they went without praise, but they were like, we've got time, we're going to do this, sewed away. And we would see sometimes like people be like, oh, like I have a friend who's a nurse and like she really needs some scrubs, like thank you so much guys for doing this. You'd be like, oh, me?
And also being worn.
We're like actually helping people with this.
Yeah, oh, bless.
So it was lovely.
Well done for doing that. That's really amazing. What has been the biggest challenge you've faced while running Reclaimed TNA, and how did you overcome it?
I'd say like 2 separate answers to that. So firstly, like just willpower, and the idea that willpower isn't really willpower, it's like building habits, because there's definitely times where you wake up and you're like, nope, don't do it. Today's not the day. But if there's like an order there, or if there's something that needs to be done, deadlines, you do have to just get up and do it. So I think, yeah, building those habits. I was not the most organised person. In fact, I was probably one of the most unorganised people in my normal day-to-day life. And like the transformation I've seen in myself in terms of getting organised, being on time today, like all those things, which is just from slowly building those habits of like, just do it, don't question it, and like get it done. Yeah, so I think just, yeah, building habits was definitely a big part of that. And then a second thing was I had a challenge, which was someone reached out to me with a lovely opportunity, and I'm very much a say yes kind of person. And they were like, oh, like, I'm thinking of doing a fashion show. I was like, oh, yeah, of course I'd love to be in a fashion show. And I was thinking it's going to be like one item of mine, like on a catwalk. And they were like, so you've got a 20-minute slot and it's in 2 weeks. So I was like, sorry, what did you just say?
That's so long
Yeah.
of a time to show stuff for, and that's also so little time to prepare. That gives me anxiety.
No,
How
exactly.
did
I
you
literally
do
was
that?
like, and it was one of those times that I was like, all my friends were like, just say you can't do it. I was like, I won't do that. Bit of stubbornness
did it?
there. So I did it, and like whilst working my other job at Lush as well, so I was literally just sewing day and night. I did not sleep, and some things were like mishmashed together. It was far from perfect, but like being able to go on the day and be like, I did it.
Yeah, that's so
satisfaction.
amazing. That's so much. I think no one sees how much work it goes into just do one 20-minute show.
Exactly.
Like with, like even at like London Fashion Week, it's like they literally sometimes walk for like 5 minutes, and you're like, that took them 6 months.
Yeah, no,
it's like so, and it's just gone,
done.
and it's so much work.
Like,
I don't think
thank
anyone
God for
appreciates
photography,
it.
because like at least it gets to be like kept in time. But yeah, literally like 1 minute and you're like, oh, that was done.
Yeah, oh my gosh. So as you're saying that you're learning to become more organised, what tools and like little practices have you found helpful to become more organised? I think that'd be useful to know.
Nice. I use a random app called Habitica, which is like a to-do list app, and I think just making it not so much the habit of doing my to-do list, but making the habit of checking my to-do list every morning and every evening just meant that I knew what my goals were for the day. And I do little posts to my Instagram story now where I post like my main 3 to-dos of every day, almost every day, and that holds me accountable as well. Like, sorry to my friends who see that I'm like, I need to go and drop my dry cleaning off today, but it's that thing of like, something's holding me accountable, I've set my target, and it doesn't always happen. In fact, a lot of the time
and
it
that's
doesn't
fine,
happen.
and we can't pressure ourselves to, you know, miss one thing on the to-do list now and
100%.
again. We're human.
Exactly, but yeah, set that goal, and then at least that's literally the first step.
Yeah, no, I think that's really smart, a really clever way of looking at it. One of the things that in business, as when you set up your own stuff, just like actual things, you see it so different, different of like having a full-time job. If you're employed by someone else, you would do these like things of like checking in, having a morning meeting, having a to-do list, all these things. And I only started doing it in this last like 3 months, and I've been doing this for so long. So embarrassing, I'm only doing it now, but you know, we all have to grow at different speeds.
Better late than never. Better late than
And
never.
I've started just doing my morning to-do list and just a handover.
Yeah.
And I literally swear by having that handover list. And it helped me so much last year, just in that last final half of the year, doing that I bought everyone in the office like the same planner this year, just to be like, you know, it helped me. You don't have to use it. I don't expect it, but it just really helped me.
Yeah.
Just having those little like morning and evening lists of handing things over. 100%. And I think the handover thing was good because I'm not pressuring myself too much. If I didn't complete everything, I'll write it back down and it's okay. I will do it tomorrow if it's not urgent.
Yeah, and that's the thing I think with the business, like until you're in it, you don't notice how many like aspects there are of every single thing, and how many like late night ideas and midday ideas. So it's nice to like round up, this is what I plan to do today, this is what needs to be done whenever I decide to do it.
Yeah.
And once it's down on paper, like it's such a relief to get it like out of your head.
That in itself, it honestly saves my anxiety so much. I get so many intrusive thoughts. Just writing it down so I can just forget about it is honestly helped my mental health so much.
100%.
Like running my business, because it sounds so simple, and I know it does, but it's just like intrusive thought, write it down, and then I actually sleep. I've noticed since doing that I get less intrusive panics and wake myself up, because that's so bad. I don't know if you suffer from that a little bit. I think some business and freelance owners, because you feel so responsible over stuff all the time, I would like wake up having panic attacks about, honestly, I did it last night, I thought we left that steamer on, I didn't even use it. Do you know what I mean? It's so dumb, but it's like if I just went, oh, I say to people now when I leave the office, the fridge is off, isn't it? Or, oh, this is off, isn't it? Just to make sure, anything to stop me from having those stupid intrusive thoughts.
I had a friend who had it really quite badly, and like before we left the flat, we'd always like take photos of everything, like take a photo of the cooker, take a photo of this, and it's like
bad.
Now you know it's done, and like we've got photo proof. So yeah, if she wakes up in the night, I'm like, here's a picture, it's fine.
Welsh, you're Welsh, as am I, and I really wanted someone Welsh on this podcast. I'm so happy that you're on. But I wanted to know why it was really important for you for your business to be in Wales, and what you enjoy it being based there, and do you sometimes feel pressure to be in like the stereotypical fashion capital of London?
100%. I think there's definitely like things are happening in London. We all know that, and even close to me, like Bristol is probably like the next like big city, and there are definitely opportunities there and things like that. But I literally love Wales. I'm like such a big advocate for it. Like I live in the central city, but then my mum lives on the beach. Like I can go to the mountains. Like it's got everything. And I think actually the fact that it's not London, there's not 100 opportunities, means that you make the most of everything. So like, you do really have a community of creatives. We'll all like support each other. whenever anything happens, like this fashion show, like everyone teamed together, like my friends all came up and I was like, please be my model for me. So I think that like having that smaller community, but that's more tight, is really what Wales has to offer, and it's only going to grow from there.
And I also think there is something that here's just too fast paced.
Yeah.
If I could be based in Wales, I absolutely would, but I don't think my particular business just would cost me so much money just from like doing shoots and travelling and getting samples. Everything's based here. But I think I've definitely seen a shift since the pandemic, and so many people move back to their hometowns, so many people choose to stay, to just have either a balance of the both, or just absolutely just like make such a great creative community back where they're from.
Exactly. And I think like there's creatives everywhere. Like there's literally no corner where you won't find a creative person. So if you need to be the first person sometimes, but say like make a Facebook page, make an Instagram post, whatever it is, and be like, I'm a creative. Does someone want to go in, you know, buy art supplies with me? Does someone want to come and do a shoot with me? And you will find people like quicker than you expect.
Yeah, that's a lovely answer. I like that. Very pro-Welsh. We love it. This is probably a cliche question, I don't get asked it all the time, but I'll ask it. What are the main things that we all could do to be more sustainable when it comes to shopping?
Yeah.
I say this, I know it's a basic question, I think when you love fashion, but you also love the planet and you want to do better, it can sound like such an oxymoron.
Yeah.
So how do you navigate that as well? Like what changes can you make, and how do you navigate it if you love fashion?
Yeah, well, I think this was like the biggest thing for me was like, I grew up loving fashion. I always wanted to be a fashion designer. And then I started learning about this stuff and I was like, oh, what I love like might actually have a negative effect, and that didn't sit right on my conscience. But I say it's often quite scary for people, the idea of sustainable fashion and needing to be sustainable and consider everything. So I think take yourself back from that, like release that energy if you can, and just start simple. So I say 2 top tips is either start with lowering your consumption. So if you still want to shop at Boohoo or Shein, that's fine. It's okay.
You basically still want to do it.
But yeah, no, but if that is like what you need or where you're at, that's okay. But try and reduce your consumption, because the most sustainable thing you can do is wear what you own and reduce your consumption. So if Shein is in your price bracket, that's fine. But buy things once every 2 months, or like put something in your basket, make sure you love it, wait a week and then buy it. Just slowing things down, because we've all had that. I used to shop fast fashion as well, where you get home and you're like, big sale, 100 things in my basket, and you get home and you're like, well, that doesn't fit. I don't know what I'll wear that with. I don't even know who this was for. And it just goes into landfill, unfortunately. So making sure what you do buy, even if it's made badly, is getting used. That's one of the best things you can do. And then on the opposite side, if you would rather shop more, you're not ready to like lower your consumption, an option is just to try and start buying from more sustainable places. So we are lucky to have so many online secondary sale sites. So it's not that thing of running around charity shops, which I personally love.
I love it. It's my favourite.
Yes, it's like a treasure hunt.
I'm not lying to you. The first thing I did when lockdown was lifted and the shops were open and we went charity shopping, first person in the door, I could not wait.
No,
I missed it so much. But yeah, no, I've always loved secondhand shopping. What you said about the basket thing works though.
Yeah.
Like, I really trained myself to not consume so much, literally just from that.
Yeah.
Was just being like, I'm going to leave it in my basket. I'm just going to save it on my, like, if there's a website, you can log in and save what you like. And if it's still, I go back to it like 2, 3, maybe a month later. If it's still available to buy and I've been thinking about it constantly, I'll get it. And if it's gone, I've trained myself to go, well, why did I feel so entitled to have to consume that in the first place? And then I just get over it and be like, it's not meant to be.
Yeah, no, exactly that. And I've had that sometimes where like I've put it in the basket, I've been like, I'm gonna wait, and then I go and I'm like, it's gone. But if I really love something that much, you can find almost everything again. Like,
absolutely,
it's still out there somewhere.
Absolutely. And I think the scary thing is like the trend cycle is so fast paced and we churn clothes so quickly that like if you see something on, I don't know, ASOS like from a month ago, you will find it even that month probably on a resale site.
Yeah. Oh,
so I
100%.
often like keep the keywords. If there's something I really want, I will also try and see if I can get it secondhand first. And then if I absolutely can't and I still absolutely want it, then I'm buying it. But I think you're right, it's about not shaming ourselves if that's our price bracket, but trying to exhaust every single avenue that we possibly can before we get to that purchase.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I say that because I don't think we can blame 100% the climate crisis on us and put the blame on us as consumers. We can do our bit, but it's actually the people who are producing these things. And I think there was this crazy stat, and I want to get it right because we're filming, but it's going out live, so I can't do that right now.
I know it.
It's something like the richest people, I think it's like the 10% of the richest people in the world make 90% of the emissions.
Yeah.
But we blame the consumers that can only afford accessible fashion on the climate crisis, and that's absolutely fucked.
Yeah, no, honestly.
They're allowed to do whatever they want.
It's wild, like they are in their own little bubble and nothing they do has any effect that they feel. Like we all get the kind of the effect of it, and this is the big thing with the climate crisis as well. Like we feel it, but also like other countries which aren't as like advanced feel it the worst because they're the ones who aren't as prepared for it, and they're feeling the effects of our consumption. But it's like that, like Jeff Bezos, it's just up there being like, it's all good.
We're briefly interrupting this podcast to tell you about the new features on TikTok so you can level up your creative career and do it with TikTok. TikTok is introducing more ways to help creators grow their community, create an income stream at every stage of their journey, and pursue their creative dreams. TikTok Shop is here in the UK and launching soon in other regions, and it provides a new way for creators to get paid for their content all within TikTok. With TikTok Shop, you can add your favorite products into your videos and your lives, using TikTok Shop tools, allowing anyone to purchase your products directly from your content without leaving the app. Through the TikTok Shop affiliate program, you're able to get up to 50% affiliate commission on eligible products. Turn your #GetReadyWithMe's latest life hacks or #TikTokMadeMeBuyIt into shoppable content. To sign up, go to the 3 lines on the top right corner of your TikTok profile page. Select Creator Tools, scroll down to TikTok Shop for Creator and click Apply. The next step is to add links to your organic content featuring some of your favourite brands, such as Look Fantastic, Cult BE, My Protein, or maybe even Anchor. And the next step is to get paid. Get paid by your affiliate commission when users make eligible purchases. To find out more, go to shop.tiktok.com. And now back to the podcast. We're not gatekeepers in this house.
Of course.
We actively try not to be gatekeepers as much as possible. So could you share your top tips on how you find great pre-loved pieces?
Ooh. I definitely say first you know what you're looking for. That is probably the thing that will stop you scrolling for like 100 hours, because sometimes you're like, oh, I'll just look and look and look, and it will keep going, and that's when you end up buying 100 things you didn't need and you won't find the thing that you actually really wanted. I think something you kind of mentioned there, which is like if you know an item you liked, if you've seen it on ASOS, if you've seen it's that Zara jacket, go and find it on the website, find out what terms they use, and then copy and paste that into your secondary selling sites, because often that's what the buyer will search. So you kind of have to think, what would I say if I was posting this? And a little bit of patience, unfortunately. So yeah, I have a list on my phone of things that I'm like currently looking for, that I've seen. Once again, I've given it some time to be like, is this just a trend that I'm attached to, or does this really like fit somewhere in my wardrobe? And then I will hunt it down till I get it.
Yeah, that's a good tip. You practiced in Dressember this year. Could you tell us a little bit more about why it's important to you to be involved in that?
Yeah, so this is my second year of doing Dressember, and I must admit I did it kind of badly.
And explain what Dressember is,
yes, of course.
For anyone who might not know.
Yes,
That's another thing. We're
definitely
gatekeeping.
Sorry. Yeah, so Dressember is a charity, and they encourage everyone to wear a dress or a tie if you feel more comfortable for the whole month of December. The goal is to raise awareness of human trafficking. And I think this is lovely. It's not so much focused about wearing that dress or wearing that tie, but using that as a chance to have a conversation. So even for me, this month has been a success because you're asking me about it now, so I get to tell all you lovely people about it. So yeah, wearing that dress, especially in the UK, you know when someone's wearing a dress because it's bloody freezing outside. So I was like, the tights, like I had like leggings, tights on top, like really layering it up. And I worked somewhere with open doors the whole time, so I was freezing. But yeah, wearing that, and then whenever anyone's like, oh, I like your dress, I like your tie, being like, oh, well, I'm wearing it for December. We're raising money and awareness for human trafficking, or against human trafficking, definitely not for human trafficking. Edit that out, guys.
Get it out, it's definitely against. That's brilliant though.
Yeah, but it's amazing. And I think it really links well to my passion for sustainable fashion, because I think as much as I care about the environment, I think the thing that really hits me more is the human aspect of the fashion industry. So many people, unfortunately, are really in awful situations from making our clothes. And because the garment industry is often very unregulated, it's one of the biggest places for people to be sent from human trafficking as labourers. So it's got such a direct link there that we don't know where our clothes come from, and a lot of these businesses don't know where the clothes that they're asking to be made are coming from. So it's a really easy place for people to slip the cracks and be in, pretty bad working conditions. So the quicker we can fight that, the better.
That's brilliant, well done. On TikTok, you share a sustainable glossary of industry jargon that is frequently used to mislead or confuse consumers. What is the one word you think has been so overused in 2022? And what's the one word you think we should be using more in 2023?
In all truth, I think all of the words are overused. I think this is the unfortunate thing about sustainable fashion. I don't know if people know this, but it's entirely unregulated. So the fashion industry, there's no legal term for sustainability, which means any brand, unfortunately, that says like, this is like eco, it uses recycled polyester, like that can mean anything. Like, as long as they can some way justify
honestly, when you put it like that is absolutely wild.
Yeah. No, so you can like say like, this item's made using recycled polyester, and have like one thread in there be recycled polyester, and like you can put that on the label, and then you can put it in your sustainable section. So loads of brands have finally slowly started to come to fire for this, because that shouldn't be allowed.
That is wild, actually, that it, like, I knew it was completely unregulated, but when you actually say it like that, they are can and able to do whatever
and
they want to
like they really are, like,
and they're doing it for sure.
I think like most big name brands that you find on the high street who have a sustainable section on their website, it's probably like they're doing something, but it's probably not what it looks like on the packaging. So yeah,
that's wild.
Watch out for those words.
Okay, noted. There's also, on this actually, because this is actually leading to the next question, I know greenwashing is such like a, again, overused word that we now use to explain because it's happening so much. But there's so much of it, and it is hard to know which sources of information to trust, again, because it's completely unregulated. Where do you go for reliable information, and how can our audience know if their source is trustworthy?
So I'd say top things, to kind of trust your gut, and the more there is, the less sustainable it is. So the second you see a website has added 100 items to their news section today and yesterday and the day before that, you can kind of assume anything they do isn't really going to be that sustainable. And then secondly, a great app and site, if you haven't used it, is Good On You. They have pretty much all brands on there. I've been really impressed that only like small name brands do I miss out. And they have a really good system for tracking and rating different brands on how they're doing for like ethics, how they're doing with workers, how they're doing with environmental.
It's completely 360, isn't it? So it's not just like, this is where your fabric comes from. It comes from this, how much the workers are paid, or how much health sickness days they get, and X, Y. So it's completely transparent.
No, exactly. They've got a full idea of like what it means to be sustainable, which once again is a term that hasn't got a meaning. So I really trust them as somewhere to go. Okay,
brilliant. In the UK, so in end of 2022, a new documentary on fast fashion giant Shein, I'm sure you've watched that, right? Reignited criticism against its unsustainable and exploitative practices. Annoying that it reignited it, because I feel like it should always be there, but anyway. But this seems to have now been forgotten again. What can and should we be doing to hold company like Shein account?
So I think Shein is definitely, we had fast fashion, Shein gets counted as ultra fast fashion, so they did breach a whole new
ultra fast fashion.
Fast fashion only kind of came into existence in the last 5 years. So the fact that within 5 years we've now gone from fast fashion to ultra fast fashion is shocking. And Shein is definitely the height of this. And I do say to anyone, if you do have, I think it's only like 40 minutes long, this documentary, I do say go and watch it because it really teaches you so much about the industry. But I think Shein, in all truth, it just needs to go. It needs to go, that's the only answer. But I would say there are people working to hold them accountable. So I believe it's the Clean Clothes campaign has a Sign the Accord. So there was a building collapse in 2013 called Rana Plaza. You may have remembered it from the news, where over 1,000 people were killed, unfortunately. And since that, they've started to try and ask brands to regulate the industry. They're doing a lot of work behind the scenes, working with legislators and working with brands to try and hold brands accountable for their garment workers. So I would say, yeah, if you want to take a first step, it's really quick. You can go and sign the accord yourself and also encourage brands to pay up and pay their garment workers.
I feel like the Rana Plaza disaster was like a real pinpoint of when people mainstream conversations about sustainability were actually getting spoken about more. But I don't know whether if I've seen much change or difference. Yeah. If that makes sense.
No,
since
100%.
that's happened, it's been spoken about, but has it, like, why does it take an absolute disaster of a tragedy like that for people to then start talking about these serious issues? But then also, why do we still have to have a disaster like that and then nothing be done about it?
Yeah, well, the fact that that disaster happened, they made an accord to be like, everyone, this has happened, we can all agree it's really bad, everyone sign this, and then we'll try and make things better. And the fact that people still aren't signing it, I'm like, and they'll be the same brands that are like, we're so sustainable, we're so ethical on their, adverts. So I think if you see, once again, going back to, are people greenwashing, have a quick check if they've signed the accord, because that's a quick way to know if they really mean what they say. Yeah, exactly. Because it's something so simple, and all these brands do definitely have the money to be paying people a living wage and be ensuring that they have safe working conditions.
I think that's the
bare
minimum
minimum.
they can afford. I think that's the difference, is that you have to really, really always remember they can afford to pay people more. They choose not to.
Yeah,
I think that's the...
Yeah. I think I'm going to get the statistic wrong now. It's going to frustrate me.
Yeah, we're getting statistics anxiety. We're going to have next season. We're going to have to have someone else check the stats whilst we say them.
Search it on the side. But it's something like, if you were to pay 10p more per garment, that would give the person who made it a above minimum wage. And I think if you went to anybody in Primark or on Shein and said, do you want to add 10p to this sale so that the person who made it can feed their family, I think we would all say yes. But the businesses have that 10p. We don't need to pay that 10p. That 10p just gets turned up in the profits. And even if that button was there, they still wouldn't get paid that, because that business would just take that in as profit. So as much as it's about us, it is about these businesses accepting that they can't just take all the money that they physically can. They need to make sure the bare minimum is being done for their workers first.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the tea. Absolutely. I'm going to go on to my last question, just because we're then going into the fun bit. I'm going to do my last serious question. So as this podcast is part of the Learner platform, I don't know if you know much about it, the Bricks Learner platform is our alternative education platform where we try and have meaningful conversations about how we can make the creative industry more accessible, and maybe hopefully educating the tools or providing the tools to be able to do that. Yeah. So that's where this podcast is going to live. And could you share with our listeners one thing that you learnt this week? Could be absolutely anything. This week. That's what I always end on.
This is such a random one, but I'm just going to say it anyway because it's the first thing that's come into my head. How much of old marketing campaigns still stick with us? Because apparently the breakfast being the most important meal of the day was a Kelloggs advertising line. I know, I literally found that out this morning.
Are you joking?
Yeah, it's not true.
I give my... right, okay, I have to be really deep about this. Every morning, I'm not a breakfast girl, and I give myself such anxiety every morning that I'm not eating breakfast. I'm like, it's the most important meal of the day. Maybe that's not my... This is why I'm so unproductive, because I don't like eating breakfast. That's bullshit. It's a marketing scam.
I know. I literally did the same thing. I was like... Because I do the same thing. Sometimes I run into work and I'm like, but I've not had breakfast. Like, this is going to ruin my day. Kellogg's.
Those
they're out for us.
Those really
capitalists,
do be out
honestly,
here ruining our mental health. and holding me accountable for things I don't want to be held accountable
Yeah,
for.
exactly. I've got enough to deal with.
That's so bad.
Yeah, so
Okay.
be aware of what marketing's around you, because capitalism is out there everywhere.
Well, that's what happened. I don't know the exact intel story and pinpoint moment, but that's what happened with like women's shaving products, is that advertisers started to market them to women saying it was clean and it was more hygienic for you to do this when they actually didn't need to do it.
Yeah.
But it was just to push products, and now everyone thinks
Just thinks
that's
it,
the norm, and we're shamed for not doing
Yeah.
it. But I think it was a razor company that
Yeah.
did that.
No,
So it's
they're
so
all out
true.
here. Yeah, so do your research. Look on your history of like marketing campaigns, because things come to light.
Okay, well, speaking of marketing campaigns, this is my fun section of the podcast. So Maddy, our deputy editor, has come up and helped make little games at the end of each podcast, like a little fun snippet at the end. So this is a segment called Slay or No Way.
Okay.
So we're going to run down some, I say, sustainable
Okay.
or not fashion collections and collaborations. So we're going to name them, and then you've got to say slay or no way.
Beautiful.
And you can let us know and blah, blah, and you can speak about them, whatever.
Yes.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay. Selfridges offering in-store clothing rental with her.
Love it. Slay.
I actually got some her bits for this podcast that I rented.
I approve.
I'm not sample size. I really struggle with like getting sample sizes. Everything's like 6 to 8. You can never get anything above that. It's really hard. So a lot of the wardrobe, not plugged to say that, I use a lot of her stuff because it's the only place I could find that I could rent clothes, and it's sustainable. That had my size.
Yeah,
so
100%. We love it.
glad that was in here. Okay, Kourtney Kardashian appointed as the sustainability ambassador for Huws. So,
Don't do it to me.
that was silly.
That was just silly.
Really silly.
It was so, I was like, who was in the room? Who was in the room?
That's an absolute no way. Okay, 4, eBay sponsors Love Island.
Love it. Slay, slay, slay. I think I actually saw an Instagram post, so this is not reliable information at all, but the fact of how much eBay has increased since having that Love Island partnership.
They announced it, I think, this week. I don't know what the news sticks again. They announced it. Oh, I can't say this week.
Insert it.
I'll say they announced it recently.
Yeah.
Saying that the amount of people that are using it has increased, and the amount of people doing just second-hand in general buying has increased.
No, 100%, which literally we love. I think slowly, and I feel like really is kicking in now, the idea of second-hand being like used or dirty and things like that is, definitely sliding away, which we love.
Slay.
Slay every day.
Slay, slay, slay. Okay, Coperni's spray-on dress on Bella Hadid.
Ooh. I'm going to say no way, just because it is a single-use dress.
Yeah.
I loved it as an art statement, and I do think there's some space for like art to not always be sustainable. I think there are places and times where like not everything has to be perfect, but single-use dress.
No way.
No way.
So, will that dress not exist? So it's only going to.
So it will exist, but because it's so fitted to her exact body shape, and at that time. She won't be able to put that back on again.
Also, I don't think they're ever going to allow that to go into retail. Or I imagine that dress will go into a museum.
Oh yeah, no, it'll definitely be in a museum. And like,
forever.
Great for that. I guess technically not single use, it'll be in our eyes forever.
Interesting though.
Come up.
Number 6 is Shein appointing a head of sustainability.
I'm glad they're trying, so slay, but also no way do I believe this is going to make a difference.
So semi-slay, absolutely no way. Recycled by Pretty Little Thing.
It's a no way.
What is recycled by Pretty Little Thing?
So recycled by Pretty Little, I think, is this their resale platform?
Oh, that, yeah.
Yeah. There's enough resale if this is what it is, there's enough resale platforms out there. There are a few of Shein's coming out with a resale platform as well. So this is,
Sorry, my face.
Who? Why? Yeah. And a lot of them won't make any money from this, but the idea is that from their perspective is if they get you to sell your items on their platform, when you get the money back then, instead of spending it on a second-hand item, you'll go onto the Preloved thing website and buy something new. So it's just them, they're just being sneaky. They're trying to redirect that money back into their pockets. But we've got Depop, we've got Vinted, we've got eBay.
I love Vinted.
I literally live and die for Vinted.
It's my favourite
please.
one. Like, it's like just the fact that it's so easy to use.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I think eBay, as much as I love eBay for buying as a seller, it's quite hard, I think, and it's amongst lots of other things. And I think you have to do some work sometimes when it's 100%. Not the auctions to find out where it's actually coming from.
Yeah, 1,000%. You can't be like guaranteed with them.
Yeah, but I think vintage is, anyway, I love it, but back to the game. Zara's 100% energy efficient stores.
Slay. I don't love Zara, but I think this is like, unfortunately, I don't think a lot of these big businesses are going to disappear, and I don't think they'll ever, a lot of them, be 100% sustainable. So I think we should actually celebrate when they do their small wins. So we love some energy efficiency, because especially if Zara was to branch that out over all of their stores, that would actually have a huge change. So yeah, we'll take it.
And number 10, Gucci commits to source 100% sustainable energy by 2025.
Love it. Slay. Will it happen? I think
so soon.
That's so soon. I think, I mean, generally, like with climate change, there's like a 2030 goal. Like,
it's good that it's soon. I just hope that they can do it that soon.
But I think people don't understand how much emissions we produce in like every single section. So yeah, it's a big target, and I've not heard that much about what they're actively doing yet, which I would expect to see that they're already at halfway, saying that it's 2023. I was like, when is it?
So they've got 2 years.
They've got 2 years, exactly.
They've got 2 years.
So we'll wait and see, but if they do it, slay.
11 months, some might say, of 2 years. Okay, amazing. I hope you enjoyed the Slay on Her Way.
Yes, no, that's...
I did enjoy that one, actually, Slay on Her Way. Thank you so much for coming on.
No worries.
That was
Thanks for having
really
me.
Insightful, and I learned loads too, so thank you so much for coming on. If you'd like to share with the audience where everyone can find you, follow you, maybe connect with you, but also support your work.
100%. So on TikTok, you can find me at Reclaimed TNA, which is also the name of my brand, Reclaimed TNA. We have a website, and we also have an Instagram. So check me out there. I'm always posting sustainable tips that hopefully you can action easily, and go and support the brand.
Thank you for listening to the Bricks I Did That podcast powered by TikTok. Don't forget to follow the Bricks Learner platform to get 50 plus creative opportunities to your inbox every Wednesday. It's free for 30 days or as little as £2.50 a month on our low income version. Thanks so much again, and don't forget to follow us on TikTok at Bricks Magazine. See you later.